if I know that you need something, I'm going to make sure you have it. It's up to you, and it's your part, the 50-50 side of this, is if we don't have that communication of like, I found this valuable prior to, because a lot of times, like men are smart, but
are ya?
Men are smart, but a lot of times I might do something because I felt like it was nice. I don't know necessarily that that's important to you for that to be a consistent thing.
Hey, 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 I am Brianna Harmon, and this is the Millennial Mommies Club, an original podcast dedicated to all of the millennial mommies out there killing the game. Whether you are single, married, or expecting, this is the place to be during your 15 minutes of downtime. Welcome to the Millennial Mommies Club.
I'm a fun mom.
I am a patient mom.
I am a conscious mom.
I'm a creative mom.
I'm a millennial mom.
What's up, mamas, and welcome back to the Millennial Mommies Club. I have a special treat for you this week. This is what we're calling our special edition because we are talking to 3 daddies today. A single father raising his kids, a man that is married, and a co-parenting father. And this one that I have next to me, first off, y'all are in for a treat. I want you to know. Travis Cochran, let's get into it. Talent manager, owner of this beautiful space, the HBUC, where I shoot this podcast, and a writer. Your fatherhood journey started when? Let's get right into it.
Technically 2009.
Okay.
My son was born March 2010, so really 2009. And I actually started full-time godparent in 2009 too.
So you have kind of like a bonus baby, you would like to say. Right?
Yeah, that's my bonus.
Now, with you going into this fatherhood experience, what were you thinking at first when you were told?
My life is over.
You thought that too?
I really did. Like, I was interning at Disney World. My best friend had just passed away. I had just lost a scholarship maybe a few months before that, and then the baby came. So it wasn't like the baby was ruining my life. It just was like, it kind of felt like the final nail in the coffin, but it actually woke me up.
Mm-hmm. Now, you are our co-parenting father.
Yes.
So you co-parent. That's a different perspective from the man's side, because I'm co-parenting as well from a female side. You guys get the baby mama drama, she crazy, this and that. What has it been like for you?
Men don't have rights. So
here we go.
That's really true. Like, and me and my co-parent, I don't want to say baby mama, me and my co-parent, we've had our ups and downs, and we've had like good years or good months, and then we've had like real bad ones. So, throughout that process, I just realized, I always tell all my friends after me, make sure your paperwork is in order with your kid the same way you would do it with a job, or the same way you would do it with a business, the same way because it's important. Men have to go establish their rights. They don't get them as birthrights, kind of like moms do.
Now, I'm interested in this, and I want to kind of get a little personal.
I
want to talk about it.
When she lean away, that's defense.
No, for real. So, all right, when we think about the dad's perspective and how you guys feel about not having rights, I personally feel like you have just as much rights as we do. Granted, yes, you have to prove the identity of I'm a father, because you guys are not given off rip like that's the dad until the fraternity test is being proven. But I think you guys are equal grounding if you're doing what you have to do for your child.
But you don't have to prove it to get child support. So I don't have to be proven to be the father to pay you. I have to be proven to be the father to get my kid from you on a fair, consistent basis. If you have that kind of,
situation.
You know what I'm saying? If it's not amicable, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes that's the case. I've never had my son mom say I couldn't get my son done. So, but like there's literally a process called getting your kid legitimized that you have to go through a whole process and pay fees and all of that. If you're ever in an argument about where your son's mom wants to live, or who gets what weekend, or if your mom can get the kid and your mom and your baby mom don't get along. All of those things where it's like you're second fiddle until you go and legalize your son. My brother went through it. A lot of my friends went through it. People I know who, if they would have got their kids legitimized, they wouldn't have went 3 or 4 years with taking care of a kid that wasn't theirs. Like I probably have 5 friends that raised kids that wasn't theirs, and the mom knew. So it's a real it's a big scope of process that men just don't talk about.
Well, I want to talk about the legal aspect when it comes to being a father, right? Because you guys are always, I don't want to be on papers. Do not put me on papers. But there's dads who will go put themselves on papers. Did you put yourself on papers?
I didn't put myself on. Me and my son mom got a contract when my son was 1 year old.
Okay.
My son was 1. They were living with her mom. I got a new job. Her mom and the living situation wasn't, as ideal as it was before. She had a cousin move in. Some things happened. So when I went and moved her out, we established like certain contract rules that mandated me pay a X amount, mandated that I don't have any visitation limitations, stuff like that. But I always say you should go put yourself on something, whether you do a kind of mutual contract like we did, or if you go through the courts and get child support. I think us running from structure has been the problem. And I'm not scared of paying the money. Like I've paid child support for 11 years.
Is money the biggest factor with y'all though, when you go on papers?
It depends. I think it's invasive, number one, and we just, especially as black men, we just have a natural defense against the system. We don't trust the system. We don't ever feel like anything in the system is going to be in our best interest. Mm-hmm. But I also say, if you're worried about the money, you're going to lose the money anyway if you're a good dad. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. And then you have some dads who pay the money and they're like, well, if I pay that, I'm not paying nothing else. That's not my mentality either.
Yeah. But I wonder just why dads think that way. Or even like I'm on a 50-50 split when you think about co-parenting, right? So why do dads also think like, just because we're on a 50-50 split, I don't owe you nothing else because I have the same amount of duties as you?
Because you don't owe me nothing. So like if we had kids and and we did 3-4-3-4, mm-hmm. right? Do you pay me anything when the kids are with me?
No.
So why, in that situation, why would I pay you? Like my son's mom get child support 10 months a year.
Yeah.
Right? In the summer, every summer I get my son. I don't get a dime. And I'm not asking for it. And I'm not even saying she's wrong for it. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is if the kid needs 2 incomes for those 10 months, why don't he need 2 incomes for those 2 months?
Yeah.
So if we're splitting it down the middle with time, we should kind of split it down the middle with everything.
With money.
You pay for something this week, I pay for this. You pay for this extracurricular, I pay for this. Or we just split everything. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it is just power, and people get caught up in the power.
But what about the stigma of fatherhood? I feel like you guys come with the stigma already over your head. He could be a deadbeat. He cheated. He did all these things. How do you combat those stigmas as a father?
You have to not care about combating it. You just have to be a good dad. Like, not to go too deep, but it's been times I've never went, except for probably this last year, but for 10 years, my son's 12, so for the 11 years that we lived in separate houses, mm-hmm. I never went more than 2 weeks without seeing my son. Mm. When I lived in Baltimore and my son lived in Albany, it was 16-hour drives. I was making it every 2 weeks. Yeah. So if you're a good dad, you just have to be a good dad. Now, if me and his mom got in an argument that week, who knows what I was on social media, mm-hmm. but you can't worry about that. At the end of the day, your kids will know what it is.
You said
and that's all you can worry about.
Was on social media.
Like this week I might have been a deadbeat. Next week I might be
the best daddy in the world.
Yeah, it just kind of depends.
I'm sorry.
I honestly feel like people are emotional, but women tend to be a little bit more emotional.
Careful.
I said tend to be. Mm-hmm. A little bit more emotion. And emotions sway like the wind with everybody. So how you're feeling about me today might not be how you're feeling about me tomorrow, especially if I give you a yes today and I give you a no tomorrow.
I guess we are obviously emotional creatures. You said that. But we feel as if sometimes y'all just don't listen. And I may be speaking for myself, so mamas, if it's not you, I'm sorry. But I just feel like sometimes y'all don't listen. I can tell you I want it this way, and you're going to give me the complete opposite, which is where my emotions come, and now I'm off mad and going crazy.
But you want me to tell you the thing, the foundation of co-parenting isn't you don't tell me the way you want it, I don't tell you the way I want it, we meet in the middle. So listening to you don't mean I have to agree with you or do what you say. That's the whole thing. Just because you're the mom or just because I'm the dad, neither one of us should have autonomy. It should be what's in the best interest of the kid. So like, you might not want I remember my son's mom was living with her boyfriend and didn't want me to have a woman around my son. So should I listen to that? Or should I just be mindful of who's around my son, period?
Yeah.
You know, so you can have this thing in your mind. I'm the mom. I know what's best. Don't do this. Don't do this. That's my kid. Nobody could love my kid better than me. What makes you think I don't think like that too?
I guess because we think sometimes you don't.
Because we don't have rights.
No, because emotionally, I just feel like we believe sometimes that you don't see it as that deep. Because that's just a homegirl, or that's just someone who I'm bringing around temporarily. You may not see it as that important.
But whether in that case, whether it is or not, most of the time when the mom starts back dating, the dad don't get a heads up. Because the kids are normally with you more often, and you've been taught that, hey, mom, you still need your time. You still need to have a life. You still need to be able to do what you need to do. So you get to make a decision at your discretion. Mm-hmm. We want the same thing. And if something is done wrong, then you address when there's a real problem, not just something that you don't have the preference for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, and I respected her preference in that time. Like, I didn't have women around my kid that she didn't meet. Like, they went to dinner. Mm-hmm. Me and her boyfriend didn't meet until I set it up. And we eventually started he had a daughter, and he spent a lot of time around my son. So I would hit him up and say, yo, let's take the kids to Dave & Buster's, or, you know, taking him to Disney World for his birthday. You're welcome to come. You're welcome to bring your daughter. We did that. But if I just listened to her kind of resentment and I matched that energy, we would have never been able to meet in the middle.
What a beautiful way of effective communicating.
Somebody got to do it.
Well, I'm happy to know that the dad did it, because sometimes, again, we will struggle and have that problem.
And I think the biggest piece, and I know we run out of time, but I think the biggest piece too is, the reason why I'm thankful for this episode and different things is, we always get the mom's perspective. Whether it's good or bad, men are just not told that we can go sit in front of people and vent, and sit in front of our computers and talk about the good days and the bad days. So a lot of these stories, these are not rare stories in good. These are not rare stories in bad. Men just normally don't go talk to the world about what they're going through.
Well, you guys need to start, and that's what this episode is here for today. So again, we just wrapped up with Trav. Thank you so much for just joining us. Please let them know where they can follow you and be supportive in everything that you're doing.
Don't Hate Trav, all social platforms, THEHBUC for all our studio stuff, all platforms.
Thank you. But you guys, please make sure to stay tuned, because we're about to take a break. But when we come back, we have another daddy coming on, and this one is married. So we heard from a co-parenting father and his perspective, but now let's see what's happening on the other side for the ones that actually stay together and make it to the end. You're listening to the Millennial Mommies Club on Ebony, covering Black America Podcast Network.
You are listening to the Ebony, covering Black America Podcast Network.
What's up, mamas, and welcome back to the Millennial Mommies Club. I told you we are talking about everything fatherhood today, and we have our second father of the day with us. Now, he is a married father, so you are experiencing that. Also, an audio engineer, producer, artist, all in one. Now, we just spoke to a dad who was a co-parent. You actually have made it to the finish line, I would like to say, and are married. What is the special sauce?
Understanding that that's not the finish line.
Oh. Okay, give me that. What do you mean?
I think the perspective of being married is that getting married is the goal. Getting married is not the goal. Figuring out the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with is the goal.
I love that, because that doesn't naturally happen all the time. You may think that is the person you want to be with. You may think that is where you want to be, and then you realize within it, you're not there. You're not happy.
I disagree.
Okay.
Only because I feel like most people get into situations and situationships where it's like, all right, maybe we have a child now. Maybe this, that, and the third lines up. Why not get married?
Okay.
And marriage is an afterthought of you feeling like, I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. But nobody really thinks about, like, do I want to live with this person? Do I want to, better put, do I want to survive with this person? Like, because it's more than us just being in the same house and you having my last name.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to eat together.
Sleep together, wake up.
I want to rest together.
Yeah.
That includes vacations. That includes understanding that you need your time. I need my time. I want to literally survive with this person. That's what marriage is.
I've never looked at it that way. And I want to be married. And I actually, at one point, wanted to be like the perfect family. You have your baby, you get married, or you get married first, then you have your baby.
That didn't happen for me.
Did it?
Yeah, no.
How did it happen?
My son was almost 2 years old when I got married.
Really? So did you guys plan to have a baby, or was
Not
it
at
one
all.
of?
Not at all.
I didn't plan either. So
Yeah,
I get that.
I mean, but that's a very normal thing. It's like, all right, cool. Like, we have this child now. We didn't rush to say, like, all right, well, should we get married? We didn't even have the conversation of marriage until maybe a year later, which I don't think happens a lot of the time. It's like you couple children in marriage. Like, you just had the co-parent on here.
Yeah.
It's like, those are two separate entities. Like, once your child is 21 and out, what are you going to do with children? Like, being married is separate from having children with somebody.
So then I question for those moms who may want to get married, right? When we have kids, the dynamic changes. And now I feel like
How so?
Because in a sense, you are now the man is like, okay, you have to do all these things. They're not giving you that break. They're not giving you that support.
To your experience.
To my experience. To my experience, yes. So it feels like now I am being challenged to have to do more for you than I did before, if that makes sense. Did you have any dynamic change in your relationship after your baby?
No, because I care about who I'm with.
Ooh. Okay, so this is just a whole nother, you happily married at this point. Like, there's any problems.
I don't think if you don't want happiness out of your marriage, don't get married. If you want happiness out of your marriage, figure out what makes you happy.
Okay.
First.
It's just all gems at this point.
Figure out that. No, it's literally figure out what makes you happy first, then get married. Then figure out how to coexist in each other's happiness.
But
if that makes sense.
It's not always that pretty. I know you can't just tell me.
No, it sounds pretty. That's not
right.
But I'm saying it's that easy. I think it sounds pretty because what I said sounds simple.
It is. It does sound simple, but it's not that simple. That's why I'm challenged to ask you.
Are you happy?
I'm happy.
What makes you happy?
Honestly, my success, my kids, my family, like what I'm doing on the daily.
So in order for somebody to coexist in that happiness, they would have to play their part as well as make sure that you are able to continue doing those things.
Right. So let's talk about playing your part. How come after kids, we feel as moms sometimes that we're not looked at the same? We're not being talked to the same. We're not being emotionally cared for the same. And then on top of that, we're dealing with our own emotions and what we're feeling and our weight and everything. And you guys just do not seem to freaking click and support.
Because 9 times out of 10, you feel that way about yourself. Nobody told you.
Hold on. What?
9 times out of 10, you say, I don't look the same as when we got together. He's not touching me the same as when we got together. He's not looking at me the same. When is the last time you had a conversation and said, hey, I feel like we're not talking the same that we talk?
What happens when you have that conversation?
I say, hey, I feel like we're not communicating the same way as prior to this happening. Because usually it's a catalyst, like, situation that happens. Something happened. There was a situation where it's like, it went left or whatever the case was. And after that situation, you feel like it's different now.
No, I just had a whole life-changing experience. I just had a whole baby.
That was the situation then.
Right.
That was
but after having that, why am I having to chase you to come back to the way that you used to be?
What is the communication of what I used to be?
You used to rub my feet. You used to be there for me. You used to tell me I look beautiful. Not to say every man doesn't do that anymore, but there is a lot of women and us as millennial moms and as moms in general where we feel sometimes it changes. And now I'm chasing you and now I'm trying to be seen again, waving my arms, and you are just not connecting.
I can only speak for myself. And I know that I'm a small percentage of men, for sure. Being happily married and just valuing my relationship and my wife at a different level.
Yes.
I understand everything that she's capable of and the power that Black women in general just have innately. Mm-hmm. If I know that you need something, I'm going to make sure you have it. It's up to you, and it's your part, the 50-50 side of this, is if we don't have that communication of like, I found this valuable prior to, because a lot of times, like men are smart, but
are ya?
Men are smart, but a lot of times I might do something because I felt like it was nice. I don't know necessarily that that's important to you for that to be a consistent thing.
If you know me, you know what makes me happy, correct?
To an extent.
Why?
Because I think the best way to put it is, I saw an interview, but I don't want to use him as like, because there's a whole lot going on with him. But Will Smith had an interview.
Okay.
Will Smith and Jada went to go talk to their friend, and they said they went to her house, and they were like, the lady asked him, they was like, how long have you known Will? She was talking to Jada. She was like, how long have you known Will? She was like, oh, I've known Will for about 14, 15 years. The woman looked at her and laughed, and she was like, oh, you don't even know him yet. Right?
Yeah.
Me and my wife have made a conscious decision to continuously date each other. Just because, let me ask you this question. Mm-hmm. If you're, do you feel like a 20-year marriage is a successful marriage?
No.
No? Do you think that's a long time?
It's a long time to be married.
That's a long time to be married.
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. How well did you know yourself at 20?
Not well at all. Right.
So, it's your...
I get it.
It's your job to make yourself happy, bring your happy and whole self to our marriage. It's my job to make sure I'm happy and bring my happy and whole self to our marriage. And then we coexist.
I mean, that we're going to have another conversation, because it definitely gets deeper than that. And it means a lot just to, one, say your wife is blessed to have you. But two, just to hear your perspective on fatherhood and marriage is huge, because a lot of us moms are looking for that, right? And we want that. So that was appreciative for sure. Like, and I mean, mamas, just listen to a little bit of what he just said. Please tell them where they can follow you to get more of that conversation and information.
Yeah. X.wave on Instagram. Hit the link in my bio. Everything else is there. That's EKS.WAV. And yeah.
And now it's time to get into our single father. So mamas, you're listening to the Millennial Mommies Club on Ebony, covering Black America Podcast Network.
You are listening to the Ebony, covering Black America Podcast Network.
All right, mamas. So the daddies just keep on rolling at this point. Now we have Reggie, entrepreneur and single father, raising your children. Welcome to the Millennial Mommies Club. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I am excited to get into this conversation because typically we hear a lot of single mamas, right? Now we have a single daddy. Where did that even begin for you to now have your kids full time?
Well, it began actually when I had my first son in 2012. I had him, and then I had another son actually in 2015. So after my second son was born, his mother realized, their mother realized that she didn't want to be a single mom. So she asked me to keep the kids until she could find a stable home for them, but she never came back. She never came back for them, actually. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I've honestly never met that situation. I've met single fathers who may have like fought for custody and their child's mother wanted them back. But for yours to just kind of vanish.
Well, that's kind of funny, too, because I actually had to fight for custody, too. So they was living with me while I was still paying child support.
Wait, back it on up?
Yeah. So technically, like mothers, they have full rights, at birth. And so, I had to go to court for visitation. And then, child support kicked in. So I ended up paying for both of them while they were still living with me. And, I didn't get no assistance.
But that was, I didn't get no assistance. That's key, because we always think that y'all don't need assistance.
Yeah.
And I will be honest, and mamas don't kill me for this, like at all. But I do believe if you are a single father raising your children, you could get assistance.
Yeah.
From either her, if she's choosing not to raise them, or another way.
Yeah, that's true. But they don't look at us like that. I can go in the line for assistance and they gonna look at me like, why you here? You can just go get a job. You know what I'm saying? But it don't work like that because I still need help paying for daycare. Daycare expensive. Yeah. You try raising kids at 2 and a newborn. You know what I'm saying? I had my son when he was 2, and then my youngest son, he was still a baby, still in the rocking chair. I'm still making bottles.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm just confused as to how you had them living with you on child support, but she didn't want them and they did not take you off.
That case I had to prove. So therefore I had to prove that I was paying daycare. I had to prove that they was living with me. And that was a year-long battle. So she would show up to court, but eventually, she showed her true colors and I won custody. So that was a 1.5-year battle.
Now that you have custody, what are some of the hardships that you may have had to face raising your kids on your own?
Man, there's been a few of them. Just getting up when you don't want to, coming home from work, making dinner, staying in on the weekends. You want to go out, you know what I'm saying? It's like trying to find a babysitter. Ain't nobody gonna really babysit, a 3-month-old and a 2-year-old like that, so it was pretty hard at first, but I had to find some type of balance. And I had help, family help as well, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's still hard. Like now, since I've had to sit in that seat of being a single parent, I can see both sides to it, you know what I mean? So I really do understand single moms more just because, I was put in that seat and I had to do all the things, that you guys do every day. So it was challenging.
And that's what I was going to ask next. Do you have a little bit of respect now for single moms? Because I'm not trying to bash fatherhood or nothing, but I feel like y'all may not look at us and say, y'all could do it. Y'all a mama. Y'all could figure it out.
No, that's true. That's very true. And I have a lot of respect for y'all. Seriously, because, how y'all do it is just, different. I didn't imagine myself being a single father, but me doing this made me realize just how hard it is to raise children, and also that it takes a village. It takes more than just the mom doing it or the grandparents doing it. It takes a whole village.
Yeah. Now, do you feel like you may be looked at differently because you're a single father from maybe a man or those who were able to keep it together?
I don't think so. I really don't tell a lot of people that. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't look for this. I don't try to play the sympathy card, you know what I mean? I don't look for that type of attention. I just, get up every day on my mind knowing what I got to do for my boys, make sure they straight, you know what I mean? And make sure that they have a peaceful and happy home, and they have a foundation at home. So it's like I really don't try to feed into that, you know what I'm saying? I just, when I hear other guys talking about the problems that they deal with, with their child's parent, I just try to give them a couple of, some advice, just how to make it better for them, and it just takes time, actually.
What's some of those problems you hear?
Man,
from those men?
They can't get I can't see my daughter this week. She asking for this, or she not gonna let me see it until I do this. I'm like, well, sometimes we have to suck up a lot of things and just do it, even if we feel like it's not in the best interest of us. We have to understand that it's not about us or the mother anymore. It's about the child. Mm-hmm. So even if we don't agree with it, sometimes we may just have to, just give in, and eventually the time will come where you will get what you want in the end. Yeah.
So this may be a little personal and a little bit of vulnerability here, but I sometimes find it hard to accept that, and this is so bad, but I find it hard sometimes to accept that men do have feelings too, right? Yeah. So with that, when you swallowed that pill to understand that, damn, I am literally on my own right now, how did you feel? Because we get hurt.
It was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. And the stigma that they don't tell men we shouldn't express our feelings, but, we all need somebody we could talk to. You know what I mean? Even if it's just letting out the frustrations of the day that we had a bad day today. You know what I'm saying? It can be overwhelming. I ain't gonna lie, it's been some times where I done broke down.
I was about to say, you give me sugarcoat right now. I know you done cried and been mad.
I cried when we moved here. I took a big leap of faith. big leap of faith, and brought both my kids down here to Atlanta, to start a new life. So I cried a couple times just trying to figure out how I'm gonna make it work, you know what I mean? Not knowing how I'm gonna make it work, but really just like putting my head down and just asking God to just help me carve a path and, guide my steps. Yeah. And honestly, that's how I've been walking. I've been walking on faith.
I love that. And what about mental health? Like your mental health, has it been challenged at all when you think about
Listen, mental health is very important.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with mental health since I was 15 because I lost my mother at 15. So, that was something that kind of traveled with me through life as I got older, and I didn't deal with it until after I had kids instead of trying to deal with it before. And sometimes it can take effect into how you raise your kids and just the atmosphere you have at home. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it plays a big role, so you have to really just try to stay positive, do things in a positive way and do stuff that helps you relieve that mental stress because it can get overwhelming. Yeah. So I understand, how women be feeling sometimes when they be overwhelming, but sometimes they think we shouldn't go to therapy, but I feel like therapy is kind of one of the best outlets. I hate I took so long to go to therapy, but I waited until 3 years ago. I did therapy, and it was the best thing for me because I got to let out a lot of hurt and stress that I was carrying on for so long.
Now, I want to kind of close up here, but just talking about where you are now in the shift. So your boys are how old?
10 and 7.
10 and 7. What does that conversation look like for them when it comes to having babies or that life or even their mom not being there? I know that's difficult to be able to explain to them that for whatever reason. Do you tell them why she left? Do you know?
I did at one point when she did see them. The last time she seen them was 3 years ago, but I had to tell them that they wouldn't be seeing her for a while because she tried to play the what's the word I'm looking for? She tried to play the way your dad took y'all from me game, stuff like that. Trying to implement certain things in their mind that they didn't need to even try to think about at the age of 6 and 3. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, I don't talk about it. I don't bring her up,
Do they question it?
No, they don't. They got to the point, kids are out of sight, out of mind type. Yeah. So if they don't see you on a daily or not around you, don't talk to you, then they're going to forget about you. They're going to have, certain memories that come up. But if you don't engage in it or dwell on it, then they're going to forget about it. So I try to keep that negativity, out of the conversation and out of their minds and just focus on, them being in a happy space, making a home happy for them where they could feel free to express themselves. Yeah.
So what advice do you give them on fatherhood?
On fatherhood, I would say just keep going. Do what you feel is right. Don't fall into the stigma of what everybody else saying, what some social media say. Do what you know is right. Mm-hmm. And things will work out in your favor. Believe it or not.
There's definitely a stigma on you all. And so that's why this episode was this here now, to be able to kind of give you guys that light. Because granted, I could get on here, mamas, and y'all know we could talk about my baby daddy. We could talk about all the problems. We could talk about the good, the bad, everything. But we honestly don't understand y'all sometimes. And it's hard because we think we know and we think we may be doing everything right, but sometimes we miss you all's feelings. We miss asking, how are you?
That's because y'all don't ask. A lot of times y'all don't ask.
But then what about when we do? And it's very
because we're simple like that, though. Honestly, most of us are. We are pretty simple. We don't need too much of nothing.
You say that, and then when you don't get it, it's like, I needed this and you ain't give it to me. You supposed to do this and you ain't do that.
But it's communicated though, you know what I mean? So it's communicated back and forth. It's like you telling me to go to the store and get the same thing you always get, but I get something else. So if I'm telling you how, I need this and need that, but then it don't happen, and then when we bump heads and now you're brushing it off as if, you never explained to me this how you really want it. I did, you just really wasn't listening. Or you didn't think about what I said. You heard me say it and then you moved on to it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the same thing goes for y'all too. because
Definitely.
we will say it one way and it almost goes in through one ear and out the other. Grocery shopping is the biggest. You gonna kill me.
Yeah.
Because when y'all don't see it, but even with a list, y'all get that list and it's like, they didn't have that brand, but they had this brand, so I'm gonna buy this brand. And you come home with that, it's like, I don't use that. Why would you get that?
But we gave you an alternative instead of just bringing home nothing. What would you have to bring home? Nothing?
Nothing. Because at least call me with the alternative and be like, this is all they got. So you either gonna take it or you won't. Y'all just buy it and come home. And I guess that's us.
But that's us men. No, we try to find a solution in everything. You
when
know,
y'all
even
want
if it's
to.
not perfect or if it's not what we really want, you know, we still try to find a solution.
I appreciate that though. But I mean, thank you for just sharing your perspective. And I honestly just wish you the best with you and your sons because not a lot of men do this. And for you to be able to take ownership and stand up and have them on your own, I thank you. And you give us single mamas a little bit of understanding that y'all get it because sometimes we don't see it.
No.
But thank you. All right, mamas, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode talking to 3 different fathers and all their perspectives. There was a lot of gems that you guys got there. Please consider it. Please use it. And also take the time to just ask them how they are doing or how they are feeling. That's kind of what I got from the whole episode that we just shot. And if you like this conversation, I'd love for you to submit some questions for other fathers. And let's just not forget that they are human too. All right, mamas. See you next week for another episode of the Millennial Mommies Club.